A man with no friends, how jealousy made me the very, very secure man I am. When we start talking about a man who doesn't feed off the validation of others, a man who isn't threatened by someone else's success, we're talking about a man who's broken free from the grip of jealousy, a man who refuses to let envy shape how he sees himself. A man untouched by comparison is a man who's discovered a rare kind of peace, one most never find because they're too busy watching others. This isn't about being cold or distant, it's about choosing stillness over silent competition. It's about someone who knows his value without needing to outperform anyone else. Someone who doesn't measure his path against another man's footsteps. He's walked through the noise of comparison and made it out without losing himself in it. In a world obsessed with attention, likes and applause, a man who doesn't crave the spotlight is one you rarely see. Most people are quietly drowning in envy, chasing after a life that looks better than their own. They can't stand to be alone with their thoughts because that's where the truth hides. But a man who's comfortable in solitude, he's faced the urge to compare and denied it. He's looked himself in the eye and accepted what he saw without needing someone else to look worse. He's confronted his ego, asked the questions envy tries to silence. Why do I feel behind? Why does their win feel like my loss? And he answered not by bringing others down, but by rising from within. He's secure because he's not chasing what someone else has. He's anchored in his own timing, his own truth. A man who rejects envy and finds peace alone knows a strength that jealousy can't touch. See, when you stop comparing, when it's just you and your own voice, there's no one to compete with, no pretending, no envy disguised as ambition, just raw truth. That's where the power is. A man grounded in himself doesn't need to outshine his friends. He doesn't need to be the loudest to feel seen. He isn't waiting for someone else's failure to finally feel enough, because his worth was never tied to the scoreboard. And because he's not trying to keep up, he's free to move at his own pace, to grow without resentment, to celebrate others without bitterness. Friendship can be beautiful, no question. But when envy enters the room, it poisons what should feel pure. A secure man sees through that. He knows peace matters more than popularity. He doesn't measure connection by quantity, but by whether it keeps him aligned or pulls him off course. He's not keeping score. He's too focused on becoming, not competing. And that's why he's dangerous in the best way, because he's no longer for sale to the opinions of the crowd. He's already chosen peace over envy. He's already won. His vision and his values guide him, and if others align, that's a bonus. But he's not chasing approval or collecting people to distract from emptiness. He understands, peace isn't found in the crowd, especially not a crowd fueled by quiet envy and competition. Solitude taught him what jealousy never could, that the real battle isn't with others, it's with the urge to compare. When a man sits with himself, truly sits, he stops measuring his worth by what others have. He sees his fears, his gifts, his blind spots, and realizes no one else can complete what only he can confront. He doesn't need to mask his insecurities with performance. He's faced them, stripped them of their power. That's where his strength comes from, not applause, not praise, but from mastering the whispers of envy in his own mind. A man like that isn't impressed by popularity. He's not hungry for attention. He's full on peace. Because he's learned the wrong friendships don't just slow you down, they drain your spirit. People who compete with you in silence, who mask envy as support, who cross boundaries and call it love. These aren't friends. They're distractions in disguise. And a wise man won't trade peace for proximity. He chooses carefully, because he knows a cluttered circle leads to a clouded mind. So if he walks alone for a while, he doesn't see it as a loss. He sees it as protection. That quiet path? It's not lonely. It's intentional. It's rich with clarity. He's not disconnected. He just refuses to connect where envy still lives. He knows how to love deeply but not blindly. He guards his energy because he's done letting envy dress itself up as friendship. His time is valuable. His presence is earned. And if someone makes it in, it's not because they were loud, it's because they were real. He's not here for surface-level bonding. He's here for truth, for mutual respect, for peace. And if that's too rare to find, he'll keep walking alone, undisturbed. Because society lies when it says alone means lacking. What a secure man knows is that alone often means whole. Sometimes being by yourself is the only way to hear your own voice above the noise of envy and false praise. It's how you figure out who you are, without needing to beat anyone to feel like someone. When a man knows his worth, he doesn't fear being misunderstood or unseen. He doesn't bend to envy, doesn't shrink when others shine, because he's already lit his own fire. And that makes him unshakable, because his confidence isn't borrowed, it's earned. True self-respect isn't about attention. It's about what you say to yourself in silence. He's looked at his choices, his envy-fueled mistakes, his quiet jealousy no one else saw, and he didn't run from it. He grew from it. That kind of reflection builds something envy never could: real, grounded, inner power. A man who's faced himself has no desire to compete. He's already enough. So he no longer craves the applause. He is the applause, silent, steady, and from within. This is a man who's walked through envy's fire, who's been tested by comparison, resentment, and the weight of silent competition. He's faced the kind of insecurities most people hide. He's looked at the part of himself that wished to be someone else. And he's come out on the other side, not bitter, not hollow, but stronger, wiser, and grounded in truth. He doesn't need recognition, because he knows what it took to let go of the need to compete. He's not seeking applause. He's not building a crowd to distract from inner emptiness. That season of chasing validation, he's outgrown it. Now he lives in a kind of peace that envy can't touch, a peace only earned by conquering comparison. And in today's world, that's revolutionary. Society wants you to believe your worth is tied to visibility. How many watch? How many react? How many want your life? But this man has detached. He's no longer trying to outshine anyone. He's just trying to be himself. He isn't driven by the metrics of social acceptance, not by circles built on shallow praise or false admiration. His value is not for debate. It's anchored in the man he's worked to become, measured not by the eyes watching him, but by the integrity within him. He knows popularity doesn't promise peace, and he's done trading real fulfillment for fleeting relevance. He's learned that value isn't loud, it's quiet, it's calm, it's consistent, and he carries it like a quiet fire, burning steady through the chaos. He doesn't fear quiet spaces, because in silence envy loses its grip. He's made peace with who he is, even the parts he used to compare. He's sat with his envy not to indulge it, but to understand it. Now when he's alone, he's not haunted. He's held by truth, by growth, because he knows he did what he could with what he had, and he's still standing. That's enough. The kind of peace he has now, it wasn't handed to him. It was earned in silence. It came through discipline, not through likes, not through being liked. Outsiders may never get it. They'll see the empty space around him and assume it means lack. But that misunderstanding says more about them than him. It reveals a mindset stuck in envy's trap, where quantity matters more than character. But this man, he lives beyond surface metrics. He's not trying to be understood, he's trying to be aligned. His life isn't a performance, it's a principle. And if that means walking alone, he'll do it without flinching, because he's not defined by who walks with him. He's defined by who he becomes when no one else is looking. Real strength doesn't show off. It shows up. It's not loud. It's rooted, like a mountain, untouched by storms of comparison, grounded in truth, not trends. This man has built his power from the inside, and so he doesn't need to advertise it. He doesn't flash his wins, because peace doesn't perform. He lives aligned, not approved. That's all the validation he needs. People will mistake his quiet for lack, but his solitude is luxury, not loneliness. It's where envy is silenced, and purpose speaks the loudest. In a world drunk on attention, his peace is his protest. It centers him. It shields him. He doesn't measure life in followers. He measures it in freedom. He's not here to chase numbers. He's here to chase meaning. And that's the difference. That's the shift. His worth is internal, immovable. He's not chasing legacy through envy. He's building it through discipline. Because true success isn't how many watch, but how well you walk. And this man, he walks with conviction. That takes courage. The kind envy can never fake. He doesn't run from quiet. He meets it, embraces it. He doesn't fill his time with empty presence. He fills it with purpose. Because he's found the kind of strength that doesn't ask for approval. He already gave it to himself. That's rare. That's real. Some will never get it. And he's fine with that, because he's not living for their applause. He's living for his alignment, for his values, his vision, his truth. His foundation is unshaken, because it was built in solitude, not sculpted by envy. The crowd doesn't define the man, the character does. And this man, he's built to stand alone. Not because he's broken, but because he's whole. In a world of noise and needing, he stands, unbothered. He doesn't seek to fit in. He seeks to stay free. Free from validation. Free from envy. Free from the pressure to perform. He's defined his own worth, and nobody can take that away. He's steady, he's sure, he's sovereign. This man, he doesn't need friends to feel valuable. He doesn't need company to feel secure. Because when you've built yourself from within, no one else can break you. That's the power of self-respect. That's the power of being free from envy. Purpose, with a peace that can only come from protecting it from envy. And that's rare in this world. A beautiful thing. This is a man who's truly secure. Not because everyone around him celebrates him, but because he knows how to stand tall when admiration turns to quiet resentment. This kind of man, he's not against friendships or connection, not at all. But he's learned that success often attracts the wrong kind of attention, that not everyone clapping is clapping for him. He knows friendship isn't a necessity to complete him. It's a gift, but only when it's real. Not rooted in competition, not clouded by jealousy. He's not chasing approval. He's not filling silence with company, because he's learned that some company comes with envy in disguise. He's filled those spaces himself, with purpose, with principles, with a vision for his life that no one else has to validate. He's not desperate for presence, because some presences bring chaos. He's already made peace with his own. He knows there's strength in solitude, that sometimes the only way to hear your own truth is to step away from the noise of comparison and secret rivalry. When you stop needing constant company, something powerful happens. You start noticing who looks at you with celebration and who looks at you with quiet contempt. You start to breathe. You begin to see. You learn your motivations. You hear your soul. And a man like this, he's done that. He's sat in silence and noticed who grew distant when he grew. He's recognized who supported him and who smiled with resentment behind their teeth. It's in those quiet moments that he's heard the clearest truth, that success shifts dynamics, that not every friend stays friendly when you start rising. He's seen his reflection without distortion, and realized that envy distorts others more than it does him. Now he's not closed off. He's cautious. He's not relying on connections. He's discerning with them, because every relationship brings energy. And envy is a silent poison, one he refuses to drink, even in small doses. He won't let just anyone close, because he respects himself enough to protect his peace. He's not looking for shallow connections that turn sour the moment he shines. He's not interested in friendships built on convenience or comfort, where the love fades when the success arrives. If he's going to invest in someone, it'll be mutual. It'll be real. He values depth over numbers. And if that means a smaller circle, so be it. Because here's the truth. He understands that jealousy has destroyed more bonds than absence ever did. That envy doesn't show itself loudly. It leaks through jokes, through silence in your wins, through the way they disappear when you're doing well. He knows his worth isn't defined by how many friends stand beside him, especially when some of those friends are secretly hoping he fails. His value? It's in how he walks, in how he keeps his soul clean in a world that envies what it doesn't understand, in the integrity he chooses over approval. He's measured by his own standards, not anyone else's reactions, and the people who are meant to walk with him, they'll never make him shrink. They won't compete with him, they'll rise with him, and those who can't, those who let jealousy speak louder than love, he's okay with letting them go, because at the end of the day, he knows he's all he truly has. Friends come and go. Some leave quietly. Some leave with resentment. But he remains. The only constant in his life is himself. So he built himself into someone he could trust, not someone who needs to dim his light to keep others comfortable. Some will look at a man like this and say he's missing out. They'll see his distance and call it arrogance. They'll confuse his silence for coldness. But what they don't see is that he's not missing anything. He's avoiding what would have broken him. He's stepping around the traps of envy disguised as friendship. He's found peace within, a kind that can't be taken or tainted because it was never borrowed from someone else. That's a kind of contentment most people never reach, because they're too busy trying to belong in circles that secretly want to see them lose. This man, his contentment isn't loud. He doesn't flaunt it. He doesn't announce who he's cut off. He just moves different, because he's learned the hard way that peace is earned, not by surrounding yourself with people, but by choosing the right people, and often fewer people. He's been through enough to know that some smiles come with sharp edges, some love has conditions, some friends only stay if you stay behind, and through that he's built quiet confidence, not loud, not boastful, but unshakable. He's sure of who he is, what he wants, and what he's unwilling to lose just to be accepted. He doesn't mold himself to fit in. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't dim to make others feel bright. He knows that if someone truly values him, they won't compete with him. They'll stand with him, and if they don't, they were never real to begin with. He's not living by someone else's expectations. He's not bound by what others think he should do or who they think he should be. Because he's seen how quickly admiration turns into envy when you don't live small. That's real security, not needing to shrink to make others comfortable. It's not about a crowd cheering you on. It's about knowing that even if no one claps, you're still worth applauding. Because some people only cheer until your progress threatens their comfort. This man, he's rare, because he's learned to be comfortable in solitude, a solitude that protected him from false friends and hidden jealousy. He's not afraid of silence. He's embraced it. He's not afraid to sit with his thoughts, because they're not twisted by the opinions of the envious. Most people run from being alone because they can't bear to face what's waiting in the quiet. Their insecurities, their comparisons, their fears of not being enough. But this man, he's walked through all of that. He's looked jealousy in the face, both his own and from those closest to him. He's faced the sting of betrayal, the weight of being misunderstood, and come out stronger, clearer, better. He's discovered that real strength is already inside, and you don't need external validation when you've found peace within. In a world full of noise, distractions, and competition, he's found clarity in the silence. He's found peace in distance. He's learned that the only way to truly know yourself is to step back from the crowd, especially when that crowd is secretly rooting against you. Peace doesn't come from having people around. It comes from knowing that when the room gets quiet, you still feel whole. That's a rare kind of strength, because it takes courage to be alone when everyone else is performing for acceptance. People might not understand him. They might question why he doesn't chase a big circle, why he walks alone, why he's not eager to fit into spaces that expect him to dim his light. They might judge him. They might whisper, project, speculate. But he's okay with that, because he's seen what envy does behind closed doors. He's seen how quickly people change when your success reflects their stagnation. He's not living for approval. He's already given himself that. He's not waiting to be told he's enough. He knows he is. And that's what makes him secure. Not because he's unfeeling, but because he's grounded. He's anchored in who he is, in what he values, in the path he's chosen. He doesn't need noise, doesn't need to explain his moves. He's chosen the path of peace, even if that path gets lonely. He's chosen self-respect over popularity, authenticity over applause, and truth over tolerance of fake love. He's not trying to impress, not trying to fit in. He's just being, and that's enough. When you see a man like this, you're looking at someone who's stopped apologizing for his presence. He's stopped explaining why he outgrew certain people. He's stopped begging to be understood. He's not chasing completion. He's already whole. He stands on his own, relies on himself, and that's rare, because it's easier to blend in than stand alone. His strength? It's quiet. It's steady. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need reassurance, because it was built in the absence of applause, in the presence of jealousy. He knows fulfillment doesn't come from followers or fanfare. It comes from alignment, from living a life that honors you, a life that doesn't require you to shrink, that doesn't punish you for succeeding. And he's committed to that life, even if it costs him closeness. He knows some won't get it, Some will feel threatened. Some will twist the story to fit their own insecurity. But he's not here to be understood. He's here to be free. He's here to walk a path he won't regret. A path that he can look back on with pride, even if he had to walk it alone. Because at the end of the day, he's the one who lives with his choices. He's the one who has to look in the mirror and be at peace with the man staring back. That's why he's secure. That's why he's grounded. Because his life is built on self-respect, on clarity, on protecting his peace. He's not waiting for others to tell him he's on the right track. He knows he is. He's followed his own voice, listened to his intuition, and walked away from people who couldn't be happy for him. He doesn't need validation, because he found it where it matters most, within. And when you see a man like that, you're seeing someone who's truly free, free from approval, free from guilt, free from needing to play small so others can feel tall. He's free to be who he is, to walk as he walks, to live in a way that no one else has to approve of. That's a freedom most never taste, because they're too busy shrinking themselves into places they've outgrown. But not him. He's broken free from all of that. He's living a life that feels right, even when it's silent, even when it's lonely, because solitude never made him bitter. It made him whole. It takes courage to walk this path, to let people go, to let opinions roll off your back, to keep showing up for yourself. But this man, he's done that. He's done the hard inner work, faced the envy, endured the distance, and emerged with peace. He knows who he is, and he's okay with being that, even if others aren't. He's okay walking alone, if it means walking away from shallow connections and silent competition. So if you see him walking solo, don't assume he's lacking. Don't think he's missing out. He's found something most people spend their entire life chasing. He's found himself. He's found a worth that isn't borrowed, a peace that doesn't rely on anyone else's presence. He's complete, he's grounded, and that's real freedom, that's real security, that's unshakable strength, because in the end, he won't be remembered for how many people knew his name, but for how fiercely he protected his peace. He'll be remembered for his standards, for his clarity, for never shrinking himself to survive in jealous rooms. A man with no friends, no, a man who chose truth over tolerance, peace over popularity, and himself over everything.